Hey guys, subscribe for daily knife content. And if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got an interesting overview and discussion to share with you guys. Not really a review because this is a long discontinued and very cool Benchmade knife. It's also a very expensive knife if you're going to actually hunt it down on the secondary market. This is the Benchmade and Shane Sibert 7505-132 Gold Class Dual Action Automatic Knife. Holy moly, this is crazy. Very different from the Benchmade knives that we see today, outside of the Adamas, which is a big overbuilt tank of a knife that has a manual and automatic version, not a dual action, right? But it's also designed by Shane Sibert. But still, yeah, very, very different. So, right off the bat, I'll tell you guys, there are a few different versions of this knife out there. I mean, there's a smaller one that's different than this. There's this, which was a gold class knife. Back then, I think gold class was maybe a little bit different. Then there's like a super gold class version of this that's like carbon fiber and darker, and yeah, it's way more expensive. So these originally, as far as I understand, went for something like $500, I believe. I think. It's hard to peg that down because a lot of retailers don't have them listed with the original price anymore. On the secondary market, you can expect to pay a lot more than that. How much? I don't know. The prices can be all over the place, but if you're looking for this and you want it in good shape, it's going to be more than that, right? I just want to share this with you. I want to talk about this because I always found this knife interesting. The first time I handled it, I had no idea that it was dual action. I remember seeing it listed at a local shop when I was like first kind of getting into knives like 10 years ago. And I picked it up and I was like, wow, that thing is huge, right? And I opened it up like this and I was like, okay, so it's like a frame lock. I was like, wow, okay, I don't know why it's $500 knife. Never knew that it was a dual action. Never knew that there was a hidden feature here. Basically, this area right here, this rectangle. Place your thumb in this scalloped area, and you're pushing that way, and it fires. How cool, right? And then you reset that spring once you've fired it by closing it again. And then you have the option to, of course, open it manually or deploy it again. Very satisfying. Fires very hard. This is a really, really cool knife. Thank you so much to, I believe his name is Jordan. Let me take a look at the note again. Jordan, yes, thank you for sending this in and letting me take a look. Thanks so much to my generous patrons for supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon right down in the description. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and measure it. Not a small knife. Overall length of the, we'll just call it the Benchmade Sibert Dual Action, because I'm not going to read that whole 7505 thing every single time. Overall length coming in at 9 inches. Blade length 4 inches. Cutting edge 3.5 inches. Big boy. Size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. It's not just length, but it's the overall build and thickness, which we're going to look at here. Up against the Spyderco PM2. And of course, the Spyderco Para 3. Once again, everything on the table being dwarfed by the Benchmade Sibert here. And last but not least, the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and its little brother, the Mini Griptilian. Once again, yeah, we get it. Big knife, right? Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Are you guys ready for this? Okay, carry profile up against the Spyderco Para 3. Oh my gosh, what a monster beef tank. This thing is a thick boy, for sure. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. Yeah, you might be able to make an argument. So, well, the PM2 might be a little teeny tiny bit taller. Is it? Boy, I don't know. Actually, they're almost exactly the same height. In any case, it doesn't really matter because this knife is longer than both and way thicker and way heavier. This is a big object. It is a brick. I mean, it's dangerous if it were thrown closed, right? I mean, I'm not saying that's what you should do with it. I'm saying it's a huge, heavy brick of an object. Absolutely. This is from a long time ago, guys. So this design, while some of the features here are appealing to me in a novelty sense, but I mean, this was back from when, like, you know, this kind of thing was sold as, you know, it's more capable because it's thick, or at least that's my opinion on what was being sold to me, right? I mean, I kind of got into this with the whole overbuilt phase, right? Ironically, I still intentionally seek stuff like that out, even though I know that thicker doesn't necessarily mean better or more capable. It's just fun, right? It's cool, crazy. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness. The blade stock is not all that insane, right? I mean, you would think it would have this massive, like, insano blade stock thickness, but I mean, it's thick. It's just not crazy. 140. It's probably 150 thousandths, which makes sense to me. Titanium is way thicker. That titanium looks like it's 187 thousandths, probably, like the same thickness as an XM24 blade. Nuts. What are we looking at for materials here? We have a forest green G10, titanium liners, titanium, well, the whole frame is titanium. On the inside, there actually is a steel liner on one side, and there's some weight reduction back there, so they've milled it out a little bit. Weight. I'm pretty sure this thing weighs close to 8 ounces. I'm pretty sure I saw that in the specs before I did the review. Oh, yeah, there you go. 7.97 ounces. It's heavy, right? That's heavier than my XM24. It's definitely heavy, definitely thick, definitely robust, right? Not a knife that you're going to wear in your fitted khakis to church, or, well, maybe you will. I wouldn't imagine it would be comfortable, right? Do what you will with all of this information. This knife is a little bit too thick and a little bit too heavy for me to carry comfortably, but some people really like to carry knives like this. So yeah, I mean, whatever it is that you're doing, enjoy what you want, right? There's the factual information. So I just really enjoy the aesthetic of this. I really, really like the just big, insano, just unnecessary size of everything. But funny enough, we didn't do the hardware check. Let's go ahead and do that. Get out my tools. As per usual, tools very inexpensive, very recommendable. You can find them right down in the description. The pivot is going to be a T10. All right, T10. Yep, there we go. All the body screws and the pocket clip, that's all T6, right? I wouldn't recommend taking this knife apart. I haven't, not going to. I couldn't imagine it's going to be super duper simple. If you have to, you're going to be working with T6, so make sure you have quality bits and a quality driver so that you can control the torque. Make sure you have a place to keep everything, right? And good luck. Not going to be the easiest thing to disassemble, absolutely. It's funny to me that they use T6 on this when everything else, like literally everything, even the pocket clip is just like, you know, everything's just crazy overbuilt. But that's cool, right? It's neat. I really like this forest green G10. This is super grippy, very, you know, heavily textured peel ply G10. You are not going to drop this thing. This is there's so much filling out your hand here. I mean, it is absolutely locked into ergonomically. I mean, it feels like a big brick, but it's a comfortable brick, right? The pocket clip, I can feel it, but it's flat, right? I mean, it's the thickness of everything here, right? Some of these areas are a little bit angular, but where they are angular, they are knocked down. So it's not like it's sharp. It's just really, really thick. It feels like a Medford. It really does. I mean, look at this. That's insane. This thing is just an absolute tank. I like that, though. I mean, there is a novelty there. If you don't like big, thick knives, you're not going to like this. Definitely not. It is what it is. Fit and finish looks excellent. Everything fits together really, really well. Something that kind of bothers me a little bit, maybe it's just a product of a dual action knife, is that these sort of, once they're in place, they kind of click up and down. I'm not sure why that is, but it's not hurting anything, right? And it's definitely not, it doesn't feel like it's moving, like if I wiggle it a little bit, right? It just is what it is. Action feels great. I'm not going to say it feels more or less powerful than like the Adamas or the Stitch, right? There's just a lot of weight and mass being thrown out by that blade. I do really like how it feels when you push this switch over and it's deployed. This is a good, I mean, like the Adamas, you kind of have to get yourself in a kind of a not super organic hand position to deploy it like the auto Adamas, because you're pulling down an axis lock. On the Stitch, you're holding it similarly to this guy, and then you're just pushing this button, which is what most people are just super familiar with. This guy, because it's thick and the handle is so long, you've got so much room for a purchase, right? I'm braced in a good position where I'm definitely going to hang on to it. It feels natural to slide that thing over and deploy the blade. In fact, it's actually really, really satisfying to do that. It doesn't take a lot of effort, but it takes a very deliberate effort. So it's not something that I'm worried is going to like go off in my pocket. On top of that, just deploying it manually, right? I mean, the thumb studs are in a good place. This is running on some pretty big phosphor bronze washers. Can we see in there? I don't know if you can see in there. Yeah, you can see. Yeah, pretty big ones. It's nice and smooth. It's not anything that's going to be like, oh my gosh, drop shut, right? But it is smooth, and you can absolutely like do the. Let me see if I can. I did it. We're working with a weird camera angle here, guys, but you can definitely do the reverse flick. I did it just there. I'm gonna have to use some wrist here. You can definitely do the reverse flick. You can absolutely do like the thumb flick, even though, again, what I'm trying not to do is run the blade into my camera. So I'm coming straight out and I'm sitting down, so it's a little awkward. But it is smooth. It is easy to deploy. If you want to do it, you know, manually, but it's way more fun to deploy it using that automatic feature. I just think that's cool. It's not unique to this design, by the way. Dual action autos have been around. ProTech does like the Magic, and then there's like the Volaton Spyderco one. There's a bunch of them, but it's just cool. I don't know that Benchmade has another dual action auto knife, right? They're obviously still working with Shane Sibert, right? Do this again. Let's do an update. Let's do a 2021 edition. It's going to be expensive, guys. I mean, they could make it less expensive. They could use just G10 and steel and do a dip. You know, maybe they could. I don't know. They could do aluminum or something. I don't know. Part of me wants them to go all out and do a titanium, you know, really expensive. It would be, you know, if they did it like this, it would definitely still be a $500-600 knife, you know. But I think it would be really cool if they brought this back in like a 2021 form. Switch the position of the pocket clip. Maybe it takes a little bit of a different aesthetic, right? But just, you know, maybe it's not exactly this model. Maybe it's just a nod to it. I think that'd be cool. I think people would go for it, right? Not everybody can enjoy it because it's an automatic knife. This is absolutely a switchblade, and it's huge. So it's not going to be legal for everybody for a bunch of different reasons, but I think it would be cool. There's plenty of access to this lock here, and even though there's no, sorry, I should have kept it open. This is flush, right? Like the lock side is flush with the presentation side. Everything is so big, and this little area right here that they've carved these little holes out, right? It's so easy to disengage it. It's one of those knives that doesn't really need like heavy scalloping or raised on one side. It's just, I found that it's just easy to engage and disengage. It's funny how soft all the edges are on this thing for it being so big and it looks like it's just going to be an absolute assault on your hands, but no, not really. It's really comfortable and can absolutely be, you know, people are going to look at this and go, pocket jewelry, pocket jewelry. I mean, so any knife that's expensive, I guess, but if what you mean is it's just meant to look nice, it's not actually meant to be used, oh no. No, in fact, this is a user from the person who sent it to me. He uses this knife, absolutely. It can be used, it can be used hard, and it is very, very capable. Geometry of the blade, in true Shane Sibert fashion, has the fuller, and it is very robust. There's a flat carried out to roughly 70% the length of the blade, and all the way out to the tip, very thick. Nice tip, though, you can still puncture with it. Cutting geometry, not thin, but this isn't meant to be a performance laser beam. It's meant to be a heavy-duty sort of all-purpose knife. The finish looks incredible. I don't know if this is true or not, but somebody in my comment section said that all of the... and by the way, this is quite a bit different. Sorry, I'm rubbing my fingerprints off of it. Quite a bit different than Benchmade's standard tumbling. I noticed it had a lot more reflectivity. Kind of reminded me more of like a Chris Reeve knife. This looks beautiful. This is really, really nice. I love that sort of, you know, really fine-grained tumbling and high polish. It just looks awesome. Somebody in my comment section that said that these were all done by hand. I don't know if that's factually the case, but I will say that the finish looks way better than Benchmade's standard tumbling or satin finish. It looks really, really nice. So maybe they did do something a little extra there. What's the blade steel? M390. You can see it right there. This is number 1017. Apparently there were 1,400 of these made. So that's how many of them that look just like this are out there. There is another version, like I said, a much more expensive version. I would imagine there are way less of those. And there's a little mini version of this. I don't know if it's actually dual action or not. But yeah, so there you go. Blade looks good. Absolutely no blade play up, down, left, or right. The thing is completely and totally solid. This is using that old, you can see here that hex-shaped stop pin thing where you can rotate it. So if it's not locking up the way that you want, because as it continuously impacts that, you know, this blade is swinging back and smashing into that stop pin, that flat surface, you can take this apart and then rotate the stop pin for a new surface, sort of extending the life of the lock bar, which, as you can see, is locking way up. I mean, like, it's like basically, I mean, it's at 100%, but it's not, because the blade can still keep coming over. And then there's that weird, like, lipped stop thing there. I think most of them lock up in about that area. They're all kind of, all the ones I've seen lock up sort of like this. I don't think it's going to progress much further over time, but maybe it will. Who knows? So you can kind of artificially increase not really artificially, you can increase the life of the lock bar, or just keep setting the lock up back by rotating that stop pin and creating a new surface. I thought that was kind of neat, but I don't know exactly how well it works. And then there's like a secondary, I don't know what the purpose of the secondary pin is, right? There's another, maybe it's just support. Not really sure. There's another pin back there. Interesting. We have a couple of standoffs. Lots of heavy jimping right here. Jimp festival, absolutely, on this side too. You're not going to drop this thing. You're just not going to, right? Moving over to the other side, you can see here there's no oh no, there's no lanyard hole. There's no lanyard hole. What are we going to do? I don't care. And then the pocket clip is mounted in one position. Right hand, tip down. Tip down was a lot more popular. And I mean, like, some people still carry their knives. In fact, a lot of people still carry their knives tip down if they have the option. I don't like it that way. This knife only had an option for tip down. I think that was, a lot of people view it as a more tactical position to carry your knife. I don't know. I find knives easier to deploy when they are tip up. I find it awkward and clunky to pull a knife from my pocket that's tipped down and deploy it that way, right? But your hand position is already in the optimal space. Maybe it is for you, but it's not for me, right?
No, I want to argue about this. No, let's have a conversation about it. I really want to take up a whole bunch of my time and your time to talk about the optimal hand position for deployment.
I don't care. I don't want to talk about that. It doesn't feel natural to me, right? I'm joking, right? It's okay. Carry your knives how you want. I mean, if it feels right for you, then great. I want to pull this knife from my pocket like this and then put my hands up here to deploy it. I don't want to pull it like this and then whatever. The pocket clip's where it is. The pocket clip is titanium. If they did a new version of this, obviously it would be nice. I think they would definitely, like, you know, offer a different position for the pocket clip. I don't know what the deal is with these big old gaps in the frame. This is like a bolster. It's a frame lock, but it looks like it's part of the bolster, and they have this huge gap right here. Blah. It always looks bad, right? But it is what it is. It's not, I mean, like, this is what it was, you know? So, there you go. Centering. I believe the centering's right on. Yeah, centering's still on. Great. Looks good. I like how they crowned this area back here, too. This looks really nice. So, like I said, this isn't really a review. It's kind of pointless to review this knife. It's from a different time period in the knife world. Massively and needlessly overbuilt, but I think that's cool. Because I just like overly thick knives, you know, even though in this case, it's actually making it less convenient. This is obviously very high quality. Absolutely. Titanium looks great. Everything functions great. The thing can absolutely be taken out and used. Pretty thick cutting geometry. No idea how Benchmade was heat treating their M390 back then. It's odd to me that it's T6 screws, but okay. The clip position is definitely feels like, you know, what would this have been? Would this have been like late 2000s, right, for Benchmade? That's definitely what I expect to see on a knife from like the 2008 to 2011 period, right? And I don't know if that's actually the time period where this was. I just remember that's roughly the time that I like first handled this. But yeah, the whole look of it is just awesome, and it just reminds me of like, oh my god, yeah, that's right, that existed, right? This is cool. Should you seek this out on the secondary market and pay hundreds or over $1,000 for it? No, But if somebody's got one that's used and they've got a reasonable price, I think you would enjoy it. It's definitely going to be the highlight of a lot of people's collections, right? I mean, this is definitely one of the more sought after Benchmade knives that's no longer available because it's so weird and so different. Absolutely. If you like, if you're a collector and you like premium materials and you're big into the mega overbuilt thing, and you also like the idea of an automatic knife, well, then this is right up your alley. The coolest thing about this knife is absolutely the dual action feature. That's cool. I like that a lot. It just feels good. Bam, right? Conversation piece. This is neat. It's not really going to go in any particular playlist other than just my favorite knives, because this is one of my favorite knives. I think it's really, really cool. I like it a lot. The price of, secondary market prices, what are you going to do, right? So you can find this in my favorite knives playlist, and that's probably the only place I'm going to put it. Thanks so much again to Jordan for sending this in for review. I really, really enjoyed taking a look at this one. I hope you guys were at least mildly entertained. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.